Now my screen is visible.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So we are discussing about this. What kind of rule for writing class, right?
Correct.
Mm.
So you can write a class with the keyword class, and class name can be test, a class name can be simple, table, anything. There is a no any rule, right? And open and close. This is the minimum syntax for writing class. Class is the keyword. Class name. Class name generally guidelines always start with the upper letter, right? And this is the open and close curly brace. So if you write this minimum line, that means your one class is done. Okay,
Mm.
good. So next rule, inside a class, what the things you can write, what the thing you cannot write, right? In this class, you cannot write any code like a print. Okay, like in this main method, you can write okay, it's acceptable, right? But in any class, you cannot directly write this system.out.println inside the class. This is first rule. Okay, means let's in this test class, I am going to write this line. You cannot write any line of like a system.out and println or any statement inside the direct class. So this is not allowed. Compiler is unhappy to run your code. If you compile to run this code, this is unacceptable for the compiler. Okay, Java
Okay.
is don't understand what you are writing inside a class.
Okay.
So this is the one rule. You cannot write any statement in class. Okay, even this statement you cannot write outside of the class. You go outside of this test class, outside the test class you cannot write this statement. The one thumb rule, whenever you are writing any class in
Mm.
Java, any line of code you want to write, that must be in a class. Inside
Right.
a class you can write anything, but
Mm.
outside of the class, this is the open brace, this is the close brace. Outside of the class you cannot write anything in a Java. Java is a basic thumb rule. Any line of code you are writing, that must be inside a class.
Right.
Due to that, sometimes say Java is the object oriented programming language, because writing any simple line or any variable declaration, you need a one class. Clear? So this thumb rule, all the single line of code, if you want to write in a Java language, you have need one class. So we cannot write here as
Mm.
well as. Next thing, in this class, you can declare variable like integer x, right? Declare variable. It is okay. You can not declare variable outside of a class. It is also not acceptable, right? The thumb rule. Outside of the class, you cannot do anything. Simple rule. But inside a class, you can declare variable. You can declare many number of variable x, x1, x2, right? There is a no any limit. One class you can declare any number of variable. This is the one rule.
True.
Inside a class you can declare block. Block means this is the one block. It is acceptable. If you run this code, there is a no any problem, right? So this
Yeah.
is known as a block.
Mm-hmm.
Block can be up here block up. Now in this block, what you can do, whatever the things you want to do, Here you can do declare variable. Here you can do anything, whatever you want. Like here, I want to print something. Like here, I want to print. I can print. That is known as a initialization block,
Hmm.
right? So one thing
Hmm.
in the one class, you can write this block. But question is that how when this output come, whenever I print, if you run this code, if you run this code, because whenever you're running, we're running this simple main method, right? Main
Hmm.
method, this is no any kind of references to the test class, right? This is a test class. So
Hmm.
compiler is not doing any activity, just print okay, right? So whenever you're writing test class, variable declaration, and you block, until this class is not going to use here, this whatever the code written, there is no in use, right? So
Hmm.
I'm going to create the test object. As you know, this is the class name and this is the object, and this is a new keyword to create your test class object. So this is the syntax for creating object. Please note, whenever you want to create any object Java, you have to give the class name, and one variable name. Variable name can be anything, obj, x, y, z, whatever. And this is the new keyword you have to use. New indicate compiler that go allocate memory in the heap, right?
Yeah.
Whenever say test, so question is that compiler is going to create memory, so they need some kind of instruction. They are going to allocate memory for x byte or y byte, a 10 byte, a 5 byte, right? So here, if you write test, something not mentioned, then compiler going to study your test class and figure out you declare any variable. Yes, you declare three variable. So this is the integer. So no compiler no for integer. We need a like a x byte, then y byte, then z byte, right? So they this plus this means they are going to create allocate memory for the three integer block 1, integer block 2, integer block 3, right? So whenever you are going to create new, and after that whatever you mentioning, this is the class name. From this class name, compiler is going to find out the byte size and allocate memory for you. So this new means they are going to create one block, allocating block of memory for you, so that you can put some value. Before this object we have studied like a array, right? Array of integer. Let's
Hmm.
a equal to new integer. Here you specify size, right? 5.
Yeah.
So here you say 5. I'm going to create the object. New means they are going to create allocate memory for how many byte. Say कि this is the integer compiler no, this is the 4 byte, and the number of times 5 times. The 5 integer block they are allocated memory, right? Similarly, in the case of your class, whenever I'm going to hey compiler, this is my test class. I am going to create one object. This is a new keyword and the test name. So here you are not passing any size. Compiler go and figure out what you define here. Here define you three. So they are going to allocate memory for three integer, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Might be here you have a float, right?
But without a constructor,
Hmm.
how we gonna access those variables? Like
Here.
no, no. Yesterday's example, you
Hmm.
put a constructor inside
Hmm.
the class.
Hmm.
So that
Yes. That is static class we have discussed. Here today, let's assume whenever you are not writing any constructor here, by default compiler give default constructor to you. This constructor.
okay.
So by default, if you're not writing constructor, any constructor here, okay, any constructor here as look like this,
Mm.
default by default this code compiler added in your code.
Okay.
Let's write S out. So this code by default compiler added in your code.
Hmm.
This code. Okay, due to that we are able to write this, right? इसको बोलते हैं default constructor. This is known as a default
Right.
constructor.
Mhm.
If you run this code, now you notice I am getting this default constructor.
Correct.
So before notice, I am getting tests before that this block is initialized. Notice this block.
Mhm.
So whenever you are going to create any number of object, before going to create the object, this block going to execute.
Right.
Before the constructor, right?
Before the constructor, that
Yes,
block will be executed.
executed. Till now, any confusion? So till now I've discussed in one class, you can declare variable. Variable can be integer, can be float, can be double, right? Any variable
Mm.
can be declared, right? And in the class, you can declare block as well as, right?
You're right.
And this block you can give name, like here. I can give in this block name as a same as a class name, right? Same as a class name. So this block, this is also block, right? If you comment out here, this is a
Mhm.
block, right? But
Right.
this block I can give name, like a same name as a class name. This is the same name as a class name. Let's I give. So this become a your constructor.
Mhm.
That means in one class you can write multiple block. Block one, block two. But block one is unnamed block. This block is a named block,
And block. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Even now you can write another block. You can write another block with no name as a class name. Let's different name. I am giving the name like uh, hello. Okay,
Yeah.
and this is, so this is also block, right? But you give the
Mhm.
different name than the class name. So in this case, you have to specify if this is not a class name, compiler no. If your block have a name as a class name, they assume this is the constructor, right? So
Right.
whenever you call constructor, you are just allocating object. So there is no need to return a value. But here, whenever you say other than the class name, then you have to say what would the value return this. This is a method.
All right.
So now this become a method. So method is also kind of a block which name is not the same as a class name. Notice? So whenever you are writing in your class, one class can have a declare multiple variable, can declare multiple block, block 1, block 2, block 3. But block can be named block or without name. Without name means initialization block. Named means named can be two kind of name. Name can be same as a class name or other than class name. If the class name is the same as a class name, this is known as a constructor. Those known as a constructor, right?
All right.
And if your block name is the other than the class name, that known as a method, right? So inside the class, you can declare variable, you can declare block, two things. But block can be any number of block. Block 1, block 2, block 3. A block have a property. Block can be named as a class name, then we say constructor. Block name can be as a different than class name, then you can say it is a method.
So in this code,
Hmm.
the first block will execute first, and
Hmm.
then the constructor, which is test, the
Hmm.
class name.
Hmm.
And when does hello it will execute?
When someone going to call the hello method. This is the method. Method we have to call, right? And
Okay.
this block can be any place. This block can be any place. Let this go to down. The basic rule inside a class, you can write any code any place. There is no any order. One thing notice. Okay, this variable we can declare down as well as compiler
Mm,
is purely happy. Please note that in generally for the class you can declare blockage in any order,
mm,
variables in any order. There is no any order preferences. Is it clear?
right.
And here let's I give some value. Like here value I given 1, here I given value 2, here I given value 3, right? I can give value,
Right.
right?
Right.
And here this x variable we can use. What is
Mm-hmm.
the x value? Equal to plus x
Yeah.
plus x2 value equal to x2 plus x x2 equal to plus okay, okay, x1. So you notice whenever you start test class, here you can use variable x1, x2. How
Mm-hmm.
compiler know? The compiler look in this class you declare anywhere, yes, you declare here. So in class, generally order is not vary where you writing the declare variable or initializing block.
Mm. That's it.
But whenever you in a particular method, order is very important because each method is executed line by line, right? Here you cannot say like integer variable x equal to 10, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the method you can say 10, and after that you will write x value, right? You
Right.
take, let's say I'm going to before write first this and print x. This will not happy. Here order required.
Mm.
In a particular block, order always needed. But in a class, order is not needed. Is it clear? Whenever you
Mm.
are writing any line of code inside a particular method, please maintain this line is executed by sequentially. Compiler first line this, then this, then this, then this, then this. If you write this line first, you print x. What is the x? Compiler don't know because first they executed, this executed, this executed. Here say x variable, I don't know x. Compile time error. If you run code, x variable then don't know what is x, cannot find symbol variable x, right? So before using any variable you have to first here define, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then compiler is happy. So two rule for writing any kind of instructions you are writing in a main method or any method, order is matter. Order by order your code going to execute, right?
Right.
But in a class is not going to execute in order. You can any block any places you can write, compiler is happy. Good example, like here variable declared down but I am using the top, right?
You're right.
So this is not always thumb rule ki always you declare variable at the top. No, in class there are lots of rules you have to go, right? So let's run and observe the output. So till now we do always our code start from main. So you start from main, okay, right? This is the main, okay. Then they declare one a variable, and after that you notice that you say new test. They are going to the test class, and here they are evaluating your variables. First, you notice always these variables before this variable. This is going to invoke this block. So in look the output. This is this block first, right? This block
Mm. You're right.
initialization block, and after that you notice this code going to use constructor. Notice constructor. So once initialization block done, this constructor going to invoke. And once this done, ever notice this is going to not call hello test method
Hmm.
because this is the method. Method is not automatically invoke, right? So notice constructor and the initialization block automatic invoke when you create the object of that class. I am not creating this object, just sign null, right? Null.
Hmm.
Nothing will happen because you are not creating object. We are just declaring one variable. At that time, nothing will happen. No test class going to nothing will happen, right? Main close, right?
Right. Right.
So in this test class, whatever
Hmm.
thing written, they are going to only used when you are going to say new and test.
Acha.
Now, if you type new and test,
Hmm,
but you are not s out the obj like
right.
object,
Hmm.
so still it will work.
Uh, which is out I dot? This one.
No, no, but go up.
Yes.
Yeah, you see this number 9. You
Number nine.
only
Yes.
created the method, right? You created
Here,
method
here we are creating the object of test class,
object of test class. Okay. Once
right?
you create it,
Huh,
then the object is created
huh,
after you write this
right.
code.
Huh.
Then how is the test getting called? Like automatic?
So the same I'm trying to say. Whenever you write new test, at
Okay.
this time, here what the compiler new means? New means compiler going to allocate memory for, right? So allocating memory, they need a size. How many byte I'm going to allocate, right? So
Mm-hmm.
compiler sure this is the class. The compiler going to read this class. Okay. So from
Mm-hmm.
here, compiler jump at this class. In the class, can you write variable? Can you write block? Can you write named block? Can you write constructor block?
Mm-hmm.
So compiler know if you declare any initializer block, I am going to execute first. In any constructor, I am going to automatic invoke. So this block, and this variable initialization is done automatic while class reading.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, this is the method, like hello method we written. This is not compiler invoke because this is the specific name you given. Compiler don't know about this.
Mm-hmm.
This is the hello is the block you given something any name. Compiler don't know. But this is the block without name. The compiler know I have to execute. This is the block execute because this is the same name as a class name. The compiler know this is the constructor. So whenever you are constructing any object, constructor going to invoke. The before invoking, they are going to initialize any block without named. Still any question?
That's good. Yeah.
So here one thing. Notice I am going to let's not create object, right? Then you out notice there is no any kind of output. Notice in the test class, right?
Right.
So is it possible something happen one only on the basis of declaration? Yes, there is some. Notice now we are going to discuss one, like we can declare here one block.
Hmm.
This block can have a multiple copy, right? This have a two copy, block 1 and block 2.
Right.
So if I write like a new test,
Mhm.
then which block going to first execute? This or this?
Number 2.
Yeah, you are right. If your code have a multiple block, then they maintain the order.
Okay.
If you write block another block like here, block 0, right?
Mm-hmm.
The first 0 will print, then 2, then 1.
Mm.
Right.
So in one test class, you can write any number of blocks. Okay.
Acha.
And also, whenever you are writing block, you have option. You can give name, right? Here I can give in the name like a test. Here I can
Right.
give a name like a hello. We have a one option. I can also give name like static, right? Notice what I said. This block can be any name. So here one more name option. You can write the static block, right? Similarly, here block name is a method. Block name is a constructor. Similarly, one block is a static block. Then you run this static always execute first. Run it. Notice, let's say name is static. It should be clear, like static block, right? Static initialization block, right? So static keyword is the always the first preferences.
Oh, that's the keyword, right? Like
Yes,
static and other
static is a
one.
keyword. Like you notice here, we are using like a static method. All the method till now we have studied, right? Static method, right?
Right.
So static is a keyword. Whenever you mean static means this block always go to the first. Notice
Okay.
this static block first. Even this is a very good observation. If you just say null,
Mm-hmm.
still static block going to execute.
Okay.
Notice, still you are getting the static block. Oh, oh no,
Mm-hmm.
really? That's so strange.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. It should. Why not? Static block is always executed. So might be I'm declaring null or just let's this. No. So as of now, let's keep whenever you can create any like a null. Okay. So as of now, they are, but be notes, okay, whenever in test class any class you are writing multiple block, if you mark static, this is always first priority.
Mm-hmm.
Static block always go to the first, and they have only one time. Static means just only one. You notice here static block.
Okay.
Let's I create two object here,
Mm-hmm.
object one and object two, right? Object one and object two.
Okay.
So all the things you are getting the multiple time after, but static block is not going to multiple times.
It is first time
It is
and only one time.
only one times. So
First
this,
and one time.
yeah, this can be for each object new block executed, but static only one times. Static means static, right?
Acha, acha.
They are not vary with the number of object.
Doesn't matter how many times it is going to recall or something.
Yeah, I'm
So it
next
applies
couple of
to a specific object.
yeah. So notice here static block executed, फिर block 0 block 2 and constructor invoke, right? This is the let's give the demarcation s out, right? That should be clear, right? This is the object 1 created,
Mm-hmm.
right? And object 2 created. Let's see object 3. So I am just explaining one new feature about the static means. Static means only one copy, right? Just
Acha.
run it. So any number of object you can create. Like this is the first object, static block
Mm-hmm.
initialize. And after that,
Mm-hmm.
next block, no static.
Oh
Next
no,
block,
no,
no static,
no,
right?
no, nothing. Yeah,
So static block,
it is only one
static
time.
block is
Uh,
executed only one time,
okay.
right?
That's like public static void main. That
Yeah.
is that is the static it is counting there.
Yeah. Similarly, static. This is static means I also meaning I just giving what is the meaning static. So this is the
Okay.
one static block clear. Before
Uh-huh.
static, we have a without static block. Yes, study block. Block means
Um,
this block is always execute for each new. Whenever say new object, this
uh,
block going to execute, right? Whenever
uh,
new object, this block going to execute.
that's,
But static is not for each object. Just
Mm,
only one copy. One time executed, after that, they are not going to execute again. So
acha,
look like here we can create a static block. Similarly, you can create a static method, right?
acha.
Let's this is the method, right? So
Uh-huh.
similarly, you can say here static, right?
Uh-huh.
And let's keep this is a static method. That's static hello method, right?
Uh,
This is a static method, right?
mhm.
So this method and this method, this is known as a one method without static.
All
Till
right.
now, whatever we learned class writing the new method, always we are writing notice static method, right?
Huh.
So I'm saying later classes I'm declare you can write some method without static. This is the static method without static. This is the static. What
Yeah.
is the differences here, right?
All right.
Let's just comment out here. Okay, okay. And now here say test is your object, right? Here variable name. From
Right.
this variable name, you can write test dot your static method.
Mhm.
Test this method you can call with this way.
Acha.
Simple say preference way static method call from your class name. Your class name and then call static method.
Mm-hmm.
Here this method this output you can get
Acha.
is whatever the static method they can invoke from the class name itself, right?
Mm.
You are getting invoke,
Okay, yeah.
but static initialization block also invoke. Notice
Mhm.
static here, this is the static block, this is also invoke, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
This is the static block, invoke.
Right.
So whenever you are going to call any test class name dot by default static block in slicing, and which method you call, right? I am calling this method call, right? Method call, right?
Oh, that is static method. Okay.
Static. So
Uh-huh.
for using any static method, you don't need to create the object of that class. But if you want to call this method hello, you cannot do like hello here. We cannot do like a hello here.
Because of that one is not repeatable. That is why.
It is not static.
Oh, it's a hello is not static.
So
So
Okay.
how
you
do
can,
you how do you access? How do you access that?
so yeah, and next question. Static method cannot call from the class name. Okay.
Oh, it's
Sorry, static method is called from the class name. Okay.
it
Is
is calling from the class name.
yes, static method call from
The class name.
class name, right?
Acha.
Non-static method you cannot class. Non-static method. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Non-static method you cannot call from the class name. So in this way we cannot call, right?
Acha, acha,
So
acha,
what is
acha.
the option? How I am going to call this test method, like this test method,
Hmm, hmm, hmm,
hello method, okay?
hmm,
Test method. So how I'll do? So for this we need an object. For this we need an object of this test class.
hmm.
So any method that is the non-static. So non-state this method you can say non-state. Oh, I'm so frustrated. So let's write here non-static all method, or you can say instance method. Instance method. Two terminology used for here, right? This is the method which are the non-static or instance method. This is the simply static method, right?
Mhm.
So if you want to invoke the instance method, then you must need the test class object. Notice here I'm not creating any test class object, right? So I not invoke hello method. So notice whenever till now, whatever we retain the method like static always, because calling static method there is no need the object. So here you need a test object equal to new test. And
আমার সাউন্ড চলে গেছে আবার, মেসেজ দিয়ে দিই নাহলে আবার সে অ্যাডভান্স বলবে।
ও মাই গুডনেস, তো আবার নতুন করে রেকর্ড করতে হবে নাকি?
এই রেকর্ড চলে যাবে?
আই ডোন্ট নো, অজয় ভাই নোজ ভেরি ওয়েল।
আল্লাহ, এটা চলে গেলে ঝামেলা যাবো, কারণ এটা তো অনেক ইম্পর্টেন্ট জিনিস। এই জিনিসটা ক্যাচ করতে হবে, কেন এটা বেসিক, কিন্তু এটা ভিডিও লাগবে, এটা ভিডিও লাগবে, বুঝছিস? নাহলে হবে না।
অজয় ভাই যদি এখন যদি আগে যদি অজয় ভাই লাইক অজয় ভাই just like save this video first, just save it and then you can drop and come back again.
তারা এমনি না, আমি জিজ্ঞেস করি আর উই আসছে আসছে আমি তাকে একটা জিজ্ঞাসা করি যে আর উই গোইং টু লুজ দিস ভিডিও, দেখি কি বলে। মানে চ্যাপ্টারটা নতুন তো, কি লাগতেছে, হয়তো পরের দিক ঠিক হয়ে যাবে,
তার বোঝা যেতেছে,
তাই না? এই জিনিসটা কিন্তু মনে হচ্ছে ইজি, মানে আসলে
তো অনেক রুলস আর কি, রুলস গুলা
হ্যাঁ, এই মুহূর্তে এই সোজা জিনিসটাই মাথার উপর দিয়ে যাচ্ছে কিন্তু।
Ajay bhai,
yeah, so my machine was stuck anyhow, and the
we have not lost the video
I think
recording.
recording is still going on. This is the beauty of Google.
Okay.
Notice our machine properly restarted, but you are still in the call, right? Due to
Yes,
that,
sir.
recording is still going on. Even I started recording, but it's still recording going on. Okay. Notice here, it's still recording going on.
Oh, the red button means recording.
Yeah. So don't worry. Suddenly my I don't know why, what happened, machine is stuck and auto restarted.
Our record has been destroyed.
No.
No.
Recording is here. Recording is stored on a Google Cloud.
Oh, I see.
We are still recording. Yeah.
That's cool.
This is the beauty of cloud.
Yeah, this is the beauty of cloud. We are not storing these data in my local machine, right? Okay, so let's okay. So I'm discussing here any tests, any static method you are written in a class. I'm like, this is the okay. Here in this class, I have written this static method. This static method can be called without the creating the object of test class. I just class name and the invoke the method, right? But I say any instance method, that means the method which are not static, like here, right? Method which are not static. So this method we cannot call from the test class, right here, right? Here I am saying this cannot be called. Compiler is unhappy to call this method. Why? Because compiler know you are calling the hello method, and hello method is the non-static method. That means you first allocate memory, first create the object, right? Okay. So let's here, I'm not going to able to call here. So what I can do, I can create a test object, okay, new test, right? And after that, I can say test object dot hello, right?
Okay.
So this is the way you can call non-static method. So in one class, notice in Unvoke, right? So here say uh, this is the static method, hello, right? And this is your non-static method or instance method, right?
Yeah.
Instance method. So your two terminology sometimes use static, non-static, or instance method. The generally preferable way we are saying an instance method because this method is invoke on a instance. Instance means object. The two terminology I can use sometime object or sometime instance, generally interchangeable, right? I say this is the one instance of test class, right? Is it okay?
Yeah.
So later classes we can study more detail here, but I definitely imagine कि whenever you have a in class can have a block. Block can be without name or block can be named. Name means block. This is the instance block. This is no instance block, right? In selection block or instance block, right? You can say this is
Right.
the
Right.
instance block.
True.
Instance block. Okay, it is called for each object. Okay, object or instance. Okay. So, and whenever you write static block, that's a static block, it is called only one, right? This is the static block, and it is called static block, and it is called only one time. Only one time. Okay. So if you write block in a class, in this class, you can write block. If block without any word, this means this is the instance block. They are always called for each instance, each object, right? If you make static, that means they have a call only one time.
Mm-hmm.
If you give the block name as a method, this is block given the method. Method can be static, can be non-static. Okay, non-static can only call from the instance, means object. So this is known as instance method. This static method can be called without test object. So this is known as static method. Here I can call this method just class name dot static method. But for any non-static method, yeah, instance method could be change the instance method. Instance method hello. Okay. Instance method. So instance method always needs the object, right? And this is the static method, sometimes also known as a class method, class level method. Sometimes someone say, right? So is it clear how to call static method, how to call instance method? Is it clear?
Yeah.
Yeah. So similarly, here you can declare variable like here integer x. Similarly, you can also declare variable as a static. Just rule, right? X4, right? So similarly, variable can be static, block can be static, method can be static. So in one class, you can declare variable. You so in one class you can declare variable. I'm so frustrated. Let's variable, right? I can declare variable. Again, I can declare static variable, right? Static variable.
Yeah.
I can declare method, uh, control Z. I can declare method and I can declare static method, right? So this is the four things generally we can writing in a class: variable, static variable, method, static method, right? And one thing also like a constructor, right? Constructor, right? So generally in class, we are writing variable. Maybe variable can be static and non-static. So this some I'm so frustrated. This variable known as a instance variable, right? So any variable is the instance variable. This variable we known as a class variable, yeah, static variable, right? This is the class variable. This method known as a excuse me, instance method, right? This is the your instance method. Static method is a class level method. You can say class level method. And constructor cannot be static. Notice constructor is just constructor. You cannot say here like static. Bro, it is not allowed. So in generally, one class can have a variable or maybe non-static, right? Oh, I'm so just variable, that is instance variable, and static variable. Method, static method, and constructor. And last, multi block, initialization block, right? Initialization block, right? This initialization block, right? And can be static initialization block, right? Static. So always first order with the static initialization block. Next would be your initialization block, then variable, then this is the order. Always static variable, static block and a static variable in how compiler execute. First static variable initialization, then instance static initialization block. This is the block, and this is the your instance variable and instance. Okay. So generally in one class you can write these things, right? You can write variable, static variable, or static initialization block, or similarly initialization block or instance variable or method can be static and non-static, and constructor. So this is the constructor, same as a class name. Instance method like this method without static, right? And static method is a method with a static keyword. Instance initialization block just as a block without name. Block can be static block. Till now, these are the rule for one class.
Yeah.
So these are the different classes we are going to understand details. Lots of details here needed. One class cannot cover each and everything, right? Class have lots of rule, right? Coming 4-5 sections lecture we are going to discuss on the same class rule, right?
So class has so many rules.
Yeah, because the overall Java programming language, the base is a class. Because Java programming language, each and everything you are right in the need a class. Without class, you cannot do anything, right?
Hmm.
So we have lots of rules for class, right? Like even write a simple main method, you need a simple class, right?
Right.
So at least today we learn ki inside one class generally can write multiple variable and multiple method, multiple block. Okay, variable, like here variable can be static variable, non-static variable, right?
Mm,
And you see the similarly block can be static block or non-static block. But sometime block can be method here method can be non-static or static. So
mm,
generally in a class we are writing these things, right?
mm,
And the execution order always static is the preference. Static
mm,
always variable initialize first, static is initialization first. After that, these are for all object. Okay, these instance variable for each object. If you created one object, one time invoke. You created next time, let's create the next time again, right? One, right? So here next time again this going to execute, right? Notice instance variable or instance initialization block for each new keyword are they going to execute, right? Static is just meaning only one time, or instance means for each object. There, the constructor is the for each object they are going to invoke, right? So whenever you write here new test, compiler going to read your class. In this class, they are going to execute all and everything except your method, this instance method. Instance method automatically not invoked, right? Or you can say any method automatically compiler not invoke, because method written by you have to call manually. Manually you have to call here, right? This method or this method. So compiler, whenever say new test, they are going to read your test classes, all the class, and figure out this is the variable. They are read and initialize value. Any instance block executed, static block executed, but method they are not touching. They are not touching. They are not going to print automatic this method. Say this is the method written for your purpose. You have to call, right? This is a constructor they can invoke. So in one class, all the things are automatic invoke except methods. These methods are not automatically run by your compiler or JVM. This is called by you. Like here, I call this method, right? I call this method. Once you call, then whatever written this code going to execute. If you not call, this code not going to execute. Similarly, this method you not call, this code is not going to execute. So is it clear?
yeah.
So lots of things still pending here we'll discuss, because if you talk about the constructor, one class needed for constructor. Instance method, one more classes. Static method, one more classes. This block, one more classes. Lots of rules and regulation here, right? But as of now, just summary, in one class, you can write variable. Variable may be static and non-static. Method can be static and non-static. And constructor is the only non-static. Constructor cannot be static, right? Is it okay?
Yeah.
And one question initially in the morning you ask, this is the test class, and this is a separate class, and this is a separate class, right? Two different classes we written. You say, can we write this class inside a class? Yes, this is your main method, right? This is the main. Here you can write a class test, like like some test one. You can write, right? Inside a class, you can write the class. For this, I am going to take another separate class. But you can, right? Whole this test class, you can write inside the sample class itself. Even this, you can write class inside the method as well as class test2. You can do. Compiler is happy. So class is very, very huge. So they have lots of rules and regulation, right?
Right.
This is known as a nested class. Whenever you define a class inside a class, this is a nested class. Like even if inside a if, nested if, right? Similarly, a class inside a class, again you define a class. Compiler happy, this is known as nested class. You can define class inside your method, like main method or any method. This is a local class. This is the local class. Local class. Like a local, this is the local variable, local class. This is your nested class.
Right.
Nested class. Similarly, this also have a same. This is the instance class. This and can be this class as a can be static, right?
Okay.
Non-static and static. Then static nested class. Lots of rule here, right? Similarly here also class. Local class cannot be static. Here you cannot say like static. You cannot say static. Inside a method, you cannot do declare any variable static and anything, right? So local means local only, cannot be static. But the inside a class, you can write the class or maybe static class. Both
Nested
are
class.
allowed.
Mhm.
This nested any name or number. Here you can also write class, right?
Right.
Right? This level of inheritance any name or number can do, right? There is a no any restriction, right? Nested, 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 you can do whatever you think, right?
Right.
But lots of complexity going to increase whenever writing this. The generally we prefer class inside a class, generally use nested to nested compiler allow, but generally we are not using that as a preferences, right? But as a compiler support, sometimes someone needed, they can use, right? So till now you can say in one class you can declare variable, you can declare method, you can declare a class as well as, right? Is it clear?
Yeah.
So lots of things cannot cover everything, but let's assume as of now let's understand in one class. Class is very bigger thing in the Java. You can do lots of things, but summary inside the class you can declare a variable. I am so frustrated. Why they are doing? Let's hear. Variable. Okay. What happening? I am so.
What's the issue?
I don't know why. Let's hear. Variable method. Variable method. Similarly, variable method and block, right? Block and class itself, right? And similarly, static static variable, static class, static method, right?
Right.
Static method, static block, static class. And one thing here, constructor. So this overall summary of this class, in one class, you can declare these things: variables, many variables, methods, blocks, class, constructors. These are the many, right? Similarly, static variable, static method, static block, and static classes. And we are one by one we discuss in the further classes detail things, right? Right?
Right.
Very like here I'm just say key variables means multiple methods, blocks, classes, constructors, multiple constructors. We'll discuss later classes, right?
Right. Many rules
Many rules.
in classes.
Overall, this is the, you can say yes.
But
And
once practice, it will be easy.
it's very easy. For me, it's so easy right now. And also, it's a very good thing. Your ID, which are using, they are helping all the rule for you. If you're writing something incorrect, they give you the right. Right? You are writing something incorrect, right? So this
Mm.
editor help us lots. We have not memorized anything. Let's write and explore. Oh, compiler says it's not allow. You cannot not do, don't do, right? Is it okay? Till now, any question? Ki what things you can do in a class? In the class, we can declare multiple variable, multiple method, multiple blocks, multiple classes, and multiple constructors. And similarly, like static multiple variable, static multiple method, static multiple blocks, and static multiple classes. But constructor cannot be static, right?
Yeah.
This is only for, right?
Right.
And this is static and non-static sometimes terminology. Sometimes this is so the instance, right? Same word, right? So this be aware. Whenever you're talking in the non-instance variable, static confusion sometimes. But as of now, just under static, non-static, right?
Right.
Non-static means instance, right? Same thing. Two terminology generally used: static, non-static, or non-static also known as instance, right?
Right.
So I think it is a any doubt question for the day.
Non-static means instance.
Yes. Non-static means instance. Both are the interchangeable words, right? Just here, this is the known as a instance or object. Both are
Right.
the same thing, right?
Right.
Sometimes I say instance variable object. Okay. And this is the just one copy. Just one copy. Static or one copy, right?
Right.
Only once. Only once. Only once are class variable, class label. And this is
Right.
the for instance or each object, right?
Each object. Yeah.
So this is the just summary, you can say. Yes, I'm right in the top. This is the summary up to the class, right? Inside a class, you can declare instance variables, instance method, instance block, instance classes, and instance constructors. And similarly, only one copy of the variable, method, block. Static means they have only one allocation, right?
Right.
Okay. So I think we are good for the day.
Yeah. We're good for the day.
Look, lots of things we cannot cover each and everything, but all independent things, each and everything need a one class, right? Each variable name, static, non-static, method, non-static. I will surely try to cover each and everything in details in subsequent section, right? Lots of rule for class, right?
Okay. After. Okay. So okay, a few more classes on rules.
Yeah, rules. Lots of
Many.
classes you can going on still. But
Right.
might we cannot go just read the rule, but with some example, understanding, right? Why these rules are available? These rules have some logical meaning. Why this is static variable? Why not? Why is static variable, right? Why not instance variable? What are the meaning, right? Today, like
Mm.
discuss about the method. static
It's
method.
better, yeah. Once it's better to cover the rules first, and then
Yeah.
we can go. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's better.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's revise everything, and if any doubt, confusion, we can connect tomorrow. Okay.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good.
Ajay. Yeah. Anis, you there? Let me